Coach Corey Wayne, and this is my video coaching newsletter. And the topic of this newsletter is going to be creating a drama-free social life. I've got an email here from a viewer who, more than likely, he probably came to me like a lot of people do, trying to get an ex-girlfriend back or a wife back. And this particular guy, it was an ex-girlfriend that he was trying to attract. And so he was able to successfully re-attract her, and plus he's had a lot of other good opportunities going on in his social life. But before we get into it, I've got a quote I'd like to share with you. And it says, "An important mindset that's essential to being successful in life is to learn to see things as they are, but not worse than they are or better than they are. That way you can remain objective and unattached to any desired outcome and take the necessary action based upon a peaceful state of mind instead of a fearful one. Actions taken while in a fearful state tend to manifest more circumstances that make you feel fearful, uncertain, unbalanced, and which will lead to more undesired outcomes. Actions taken while in a peaceful state tend to manifest more circumstances that are balanced, efficient, ideal, and desired." Let's go ahead and jump into this guy's email. He says, "Hello there again, Coach. I wrote you several months back and you responded to me in your video, Signals My Ex-Girlfriend is Sending Me." So on the actual article on my website, I will put a link in there to that original article so you can take a look at the original video and see where this guy started out several months ago. He says, "First off, I want to thank you about all of your advice back then. You are the man." He says, "I want to share the rest of my story and what happened after I read your book and followed it step by step. Here's what happened. After I told her this is obviously his ex-girlfriend, I don't want to be friends with her and to call me if she changes her mind, she was already dating another dude and got involved in a relationship which lasted about 3 to 4 months. Then after it ended, she started to put herself into my orbit by posts on Facebook and by talking to friends and colleagues at work." He says, and the interesting thing about that is that's why one of the chapters of my book is why you don't have any competition, is because most guys don't get it. Most men act very weak, needy, they over pursue. Even if they're successful at getting a girlfriend, it's usually just a matter of months before she gets tired of his weak ass bullshit and she ditches him. And that's why if you start learning this stuff and you say something like that where you leave the door open for your ex-girlfriend if you're wanting to re-attract her, or a girl that you kind of messed up with, but now that you found out about my work, you're applying these things, now you leave the door open and you go about practicing the social skills and the attraction skills that I talk about in my book and my other videos, then you start getting some success. It puts you in like an abundance mentality and it makes the sting or the pain of the breakup kind of go away. And so 3-4 months go by and she contacts you, you got plenty of options, you're hooking up with other women, and you feel a lot better. And then when she comes back, you're not all emotionally wrapped up because you're no longer attached to her, and it makes it very easy to do things right. And then when she starts interacting with you, because over time, we all tend to look through rose-colored glasses at the past, she doesn't think about all the negative things or the negative ways she used to feel when she was with you. She tends to remember the good memories and the good times. And then when she starts interacting with you again, it's the new you, because now you're acting in ways that create attraction instead of turning her off. And then she starts to think, God, why the hell did we break up in the first place? So he says, up until that point, I didn't even want to say hi, how are you, since she was acting cold. She reactivated her Facebook account again and started commenting on pictures that were on there when we were together and on our friends' walls, so I thought she wanted me to somehow initiate contact with her, and as soon as I commented on a photo on our common friend's wall, she gave me a friendship request and started talking to me. Isn't that amazing? And plus, because you obviously had an emotional bond, an emotional connection with her before, it makes things pretty easy to re-attract her. He says, I told her, of course, that I have no interest to be friends with her and that I want more. Good job. That's because you got to stick to your guns. It's really important that you reiterate that, because a lot of times, especially when you've acted weak in the past, the woman's going to try to put you there and she's going to try to interact with you in that way to see if you acquiesce to it and you go along with it. That's a test of your strength. And it's important that you stick to your guns, because if you go along with it, you're going to stick your ass right back in friend zone, and you're going to get a bad case of blue balls, and you're going to be one really frustrated dude. He says, I have no interest in being friends with her, and then I want more, so she finally agreed to get out and hook up with me. 2 days after that, we were already having a good time being together and all the stuff we used to do when we were a couple. Even the best part, the sex, he puts with an exclamation part. He says she started visiting my house again every day and started to have sex on a regular basis with me. And during all that time, I never brought up the getting together part. She brought it up on her own like 15 days after we started having sex, but she wanted to keep it a secret from her and my parents since she was afraid that they might not approve of this. He says, so this is the part where I think I kind of lost control and I started chasing again. That's a tough thing. It's like you go back, you get involved with somebody that you screwed up in the past, and it's very hard to not fall back into those old patterns. That's why it's so important to just get right, when a breakup happens, to get right back on the horse, start dating, start meeting new women, because it gives you choices. And if you've got several women in your life that you're hooking up with and having a good time, then it's a lot easier to do the right things. And plus, the more you practice this stuff, because repetition's the mother of skill, time and repetition, you're going to become better at it. It prepares you not only in case the ex comes back, but it also prepares you, because you never know when you're going to meet a girl that's going to be love at first sight, and she's going to feel the same way, and things are going to start off right. But if you're not prepared because you haven't been practicing this stuff, you've been just waiting for the right girl to come along, then when you meet her, you're going to just totally fucking come unglued and be unable to handle it. And it's like she's chasing you, she's doing all the work, and then you decide you're going to start pursuing her, which basically is going right back to the old kind of behavior that turned her off and caused her to reject you the first time around. He says, because she was telling me and some of our friends that we were together, she was telling me she loved me and she was having sex with me, and I was rarely the one that initiated the contact. Why fucking change it? Because when a woman's really into you, when she's in love with you, when you're boyfriend, girlfriend, she's going to feel comfortable. She's going to feel safe and comfortable. And just naturally, she's going to call and text you a couple times a day. And all you have to do is use those as opportunities to set the next date and stay off the phone, because it helps you remain mysterious, and it also causes her to look forward to seeing you. Because the more you talk on the phone, and especially the more you text, because a lot of times text can be misconstrued, the higher the likelihood is you're going to say something that's going to turn her off and cause the attraction to go in the opposite direction. Because if you're together in person, if you say something, you put your foot in your mouth, you can notice it in her body language and her facial expressions right away and take corrective action. But if it's in a text, you can't really tell that she's pissed off, but you'll know after 3 or 4 days go by and you haven't heard from her that, oh, I must have done something wrong. He says, I was leaving it all to her to call me or contact me when she is free, and the rest was up to me. It's all you had to do. It's like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It's like, why fuck it up? He says, where we were going and what we were going to do, I did all that, and it led all the way from there. And I thought that I had a good chance to get back together with her. Well, she already was back together. Hang out, have fun, hook up. And eventually, when that emotional bond is established, on a scale of 1 to 10, when her attraction level starts to hit a 9 again, she's going to bring up the topic of being exclusive. In the meantime, hang out, have fun with her and whoever else that you were hooking up. But the thing is, you got focused on the relationship and trying to lock her down to a commitment, because she starts talking about this stuff, and you just totally ruin the sexual tension, and you start driving her away again. He says, until the moment she met with a girl which became a best friend of hers very quickly. When they got close, she started hanging out with her in her company, and she started to isolate me. So I told her I was not happy with this, and this time she knew the game and said to me that if I didn't want to be her friend, it's better not to speak to her again. He says, so now what she can tell is by that statement, you're trying to lock her down to a commitment. You must love in such a way that the person you love feels free. And now what you're saying and the way you're acting is causing her no longer to feel free. It's no longer her idea to hang out. Now you're wanting more from her than she's willing to give. And anytime you deal with any woman, she's going to haul ass. He says, this time I knew better, and I said what you teach in this situation. He says, okay, no problem. If you change your mind, give me a call, and never spoke to her again. This time, though, it was different, and your book helped a lot. 10 days after we stopped speaking to each other, I was already hooking up with new girls and having sex with them thanks to you. One of them even wanted to have an exclusive relationship with me, but I didn't feel that she was the right kind of woman for me, and I ended things quickly there. For the first time in my life, I had the power to choose the girls I want to be with. He says, it feels damn awesome. Thank you. You're welcome. He says, 1 week ago, I had to contact my ex because she lost her ID just before we ceased all contact, and I had to know if she had found it or not, which is the address she was listed at her main. He says, because she is no longer with me and lives no longer at my address, I didn't want her to have it on her ID. That tells me you were trying to come up with an excuse to contact her. I think you're bullshitting yourself a little bit. And that's part of your problem. She pushed you away again, and then you're still trying to chase her to get her back. He says, when I cleared the issue with her, she told me what happened the past several months, and we didn't speak to each other. She told me her parents got separated because her dad was cheating on her mom with his own cousin. He says, quite the family, I would say. Okay, you guys must be from the country or something. He says, she told me that she has a new boyfriend and she's happy with him because he was giving her the freedom she wanted. Blah, blah, blah. And also told me that despite everything, she will always love me and my family. She told me not to think of stopping to talk with her again. But when I heard the part of her having a new boyfriend, I told her I was not interested in talking to her and she's exclusive with someone else because I want her in a different way. Good job. He says, I also told her contact me if only if things don't go well with her current boyfriend, which I kind of feel like they won't since she is no girlfriend-wife material after all. He says she keeps our pictures from the time when we were together in her Facebook profile, but only visible to me and her. He says, I wanted to ask you this, so out of curiosity, can you tell me what happens with the girls that are not considered good girlfriends, wife material? Do they ever get what they deserve for being bitches and hurting so many people in their lifetime? I wonder how they end up in relationships. Well, I had one woman that was kind of that way. She had an honesty problem. She was kind of devious, and I got tired of it. And we were friends for quite a few years after that happened, after we split up. And, you know, one of the first things she told me, the very first date that we had, I fuck all my relationships up. And I split up with her, I don't know, 11, 12 years ago at this point. And I was in her life for a lot of years. I was in her daughter's life for a lot of years. And it pretty much was the same story with every guy. She drove every guy away. And it's about 4 years ago, she hooked up with a guy that was a childhood friend of hers. He was her brother's best friend. And they ended up getting married. And I haven't heard from her since. So I assume that she's happy. And maybe because she's known this guy, maybe she learned her lesson. I don't really know. But I know he's in the military and he's away from her a lot of time when he's over in Iraq or actually Afghanistan these days. But, you know, I don't know. People tend to not change the nature of who they really are. And all I know is I'm glad I'm not him because I wouldn't want to be wondering what she's doing. But who knows? Maybe she learned her lesson. And she's not as wacky as she was, if you will, when, you know, like she was when she was younger. But, you know, at the end of the day, I got another friend. He's a guy friend of mine. And he's just had a child with a girl that he's been on and off with for the past 5 or 6 years. And he's still fucking 4 or 5 different women on the side, having unprotected sex. And his girlfriend, who's now his fiance, thinks that he's being totally faithful with her. And he's pretty much been that way ever since I've known him. And I don't think he's gonna change at all. But you know, I've learned it's like later in life, especially like as women get older and they start to lose their looks a little bit, they don't have as many choices, and they start to realize and they start to learn those lessons. But it's, you know, women that I've personally dated that were like that, you know, like I said, at least the time that I was still in their lives, they were constantly creating problems, constantly dating the wrong kind of people. And so it's like, from my perspective, the women that I've personally known that were like that, nothing really seemed to change. Some of the women I dated 20 years ago that were having problems keeping guys in their life, it was kind of like they still have a hard time keeping a good guy in their life, and they're single parents now. And so there you have it. So if you have a question you want to ask me, go to my website, click the products tab, and book a paid phone session. I'll talk to you soon.